transparency over UFOs taking another step at the federal level. Next week, members of the House Oversight Committee will be called into a classified briefing on UFOs. Now, this is the first time since UAP whistleblower David Grush made his bombshell claims that the intelligence community's Inspector General will meet with House members to now discuss this topic. Correspondent Joe Khalil live for us on Capitol Hill. Joe, no surprise here, some lawmakers are not thrilled with the idea of this being a secret meeting.
Yeah, that's right. And we are able to confirm, Nicole, this is happening Friday next week, that members of Congress, some of them, are going to be getting a classified briefing on UFOs or UAPs, on the phenomenon. Now, this is going to be actually the second one that they're getting on this topic from different people, but second one since October. And just like the last one, this is also going to be in a classified setting. As you mentioned, this is a private room. You got to check your electronics at the door, and nothing that is talked about is supposed to become public. So who is giving this briefing to certain members of Congress? It's Thomas Monheim. He's the intelligence community's Inspector General. What does that mean? That means it's his job to essentially oversee all of the levers of the intelligence community and make sure that everything they're doing is legal, that they're acting appropriately, and that the money they get from Congress is spent in a proper way. Now, David Grush, the whistleblower who came forward on News Nation, whose claims have really sparked a new interest in Congress in this topic, he has said multiple times that he does not think the intelligence community has been operating above board and legally. The center of his allegations are that for decades now, elements within the intel community have been collecting crashed UAPs that he says are of non-human origin, trying to reverse engineer them and hiding that program from Congress. So if you are David Grush and you want to blow the whistle and become a whistleblower, give this information forward, it's very likely that information would have to go through Thomas Monheim and through his office. In fact, David Grush has told us and has publicly said during the congressional hearings that the info that he has, details, he says, are evidence of his claims that he cannot share publicly. He says he has shared that information with Thomas Monheim and with that office. So presumably next week, Monheim could share that information, if this is all true, with members of Congress. Members who were in that briefing, Nicole, can ask Monheim about it. Now, whether they're going to get that information, that is a different question, because we know in October, members of Congress left that briefing really disappointed with what they learned from the Department of Defense Inspector General, telling us that their questions were not answered, that there was not a whole lot of transparency and information given to them. To just refresh everyone's memory, here's what that sounded like from the members who just left that previous briefing.
Frankly, it doesn't seem like it's anything other than what we were told
Yeah, we were actually told that we don't have clearance to learn some certain things.
Really?
So, yeah.
Really?
Again.
Is that in itself telling?
It could be. I don't want to read into it, but obviously, I think a lot of members were very frustrated.
So we'll see, Nicole, next week if this is any different than what happened last time. I can tell you there are members of Congress I've spoken to who are not confident that they're going to learn a whole lot. But, you know, we're going to find out next week, Friday.
All right. Joe Khalil live for us there in Washington. Thank you.
Fight for transparency related to UAPs or UFOs is moving forward at the federal level. In fact, the Inspector General of the intelligence community confirming that he has, in fact, scheduled a classified briefing next Friday. Now, this is going to be to discuss more information about UAPs with the House Oversight Committee. This meeting comes after members of the committee sent a letter requesting more details about the federal government's knowledge, research, and retrieval of UFOs. But this meeting will be held in a secure room where all information is going to be private and not to be shared with anyone on the outside. We are hearing from Tennessee Representative Tim Burchett about his concerns, though, about this upcoming meeting.
The thing you've got to worry about when you go into the SCIF, if they tell you something, even if you already knew it or suspected it, you're not supposed to be able to talk about it. So I'm sort of leery of these meetings where they tell you a bunch of stuff and just to keep it secret and further entangle you in this little web of deceit.
Remember, it was last summer when former intelligence official David Grush broke his silence and accused the U.S. government of covering up these secret UFO programs. He then testified that federal officials are in possession of crashed, non-human vehicles. Now, Burchett says testimonies like that are the reason that he and his colleagues continue pushing for answers.
I think it's coming in from all over the country, if not the world now. But I think Congress we've really woke up a sleeping giant. Turns out everybody just about has a UFO story.
All right, again, that meeting is going to be next week, but just how much information we're going to get out of it, that's still up in the air. We'll let you know.
Okay, so there's a major development in the quest to find out the truth about UFOs and what the government really knows. There is a secret meeting we've learned that's going to happen next week between several Congress people and also the Inspector General, who knows a lot about this. I want to ask the man who interviewed David Grush, the UFO whistleblower for News Nation, blew this UFO story wide open about this. News Nation special correspondent and investigative journalist Ross Coulthart joins me now. Ross, tell me about this meeting, and will we actually find out something new this time?
Look, I think we're entitled to be sceptical, Brian, because unfortunately the members of the Oversight Committee aren't all read in like members of the Intelligence Committee or the Armed Services Committee. They're not allowed to hear all the secrets. And so one of the question marks that's still unresolved is just how much the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community is going to be allowed to tell them. I don't think he's going to be able to reveal specific details of programs that David Grush has already revealed to the Congress in secret hearings. I think what the best that they're going to get will be at least an assessment from the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community. And I think this is important. I think at best what they're going to get is an explanation for why the Inspector General determined that Mr. Grush's allegations were credible and urgent. And I think that's very, very important, because a lot of people have said that there's no basis to Mr. Grush's allegations. A lot of people have suggested that it's all unsourced, whereas we know that the Inspector General deposed witnesses. He actually got witnesses to come forward, give evidence. And so that evidence, I think for the first time, there's an opportunity for the members of the committee to actually get to hear what it was that persuaded the Inspector General as to the authenticity and the veracity of Mr. Grush's claims.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. And just to be clear, basically this meeting between several members of Congress and the Inspector General, this is the same Inspector General who David Grush says he went to and gave information to. And David Grush has said that there's additional information he hasn't said publicly that the Inspector General knows about. So that's the big point, right? Like, will we get to find out that information?
Well, I don't think we will. I mean, I think there's absolutely no chance at all that we're going to be told anything about this, Brian, unfortunately. I think there are people in the Defense Department and the intelligence community who are determined to keep this secret for as long as possible. And there is absolutely no doubt that there is evidence that David Grush has provided to the committee, and also that's to the Intelligence Committee and the HPSC in the House and the Senate Select Committee in the Senate, and he's also provided intelligence to the Inspector General. And the most important thing, and I keep on emphasising this for people who keep on saying there's no evidence to back Mr. Grush's claims, the reason why the Inspector General believed Mr. Grush was that he did his own investigations. He deposed own witnesses. And here is an opportunity now for the members of the House Oversight Committee to get to hear at least some of the reasons why the Inspector General believed Mr. Grush and asserted to the Congress that he believed his allegations, his complaint was credible. And the interesting thing, though, that we have is that we know that the members of the House Oversight Committee are normally not able to be read in to these kinds of information because they're specifically kept within the intelligence committees. So I think there's a real question mark as to whether there's been a temporary read-in for the committee members, whether they are going to be getting an opportunity to get specific information, or whether because of the constraints on compartmented secrets inside the defence community, they're only be able to be given very general information. I fear it's going to be the latter.